How does one confidently find out whether it's a clean piece of meat or not? Lies about the meat industry that you would like to speak some truth on.
You know, I've never really walked through one of the really big plants, but some of the stuff that I've heard is...
So I'm here with Brent, COO of Merriweather Meats, and I really want to ask some important questions about eating meat. Please do introduce yourself and also what makes this processing plant so different from others.
Brent Hedgeland. I've been cutting meat since 1977, so I've been basically cutting meat my whole life. This is a small plant in the U.S. It's considered small. We only basically run through about 50 beef a week. At the end of the day, some of the larger plants do 2,000, 3,000. I think at this plant, we have a little more of a personal touch for the beef. Everything is hand cut. Not a whole lot of machines here. We just have the basics of what we've had in the meat world forever. And it's a clean plant. We are USDA plant, so we are still under USDA, so we can sell throughout the United States or even to other countries, so that's a good thing. Of course, if it's state inspected, you can only sell inside of the state lines. You know, if it's a state inspected animal, it can only be sold in Wyoming.
So the label USDA, it means that you can sell in all states and beyond?
Yep. Yeah, we can even sell to other countries. It kind of opens it up for whatever. So
amazing. What makes a plant USDA approved?
So you have to go through a bunch of paperwork, of course. It's the government. We have an inspector that's here full-time. 90% of his job is the humane handling of the animal, and then the inspection when we harvest the animal. He'll walk the plant and make sure that it's clean and all that, but the biggest piece of the USDA is the harvesting and making sure that it's good for consumption. So
when you talk about the humane part of handling the animal, can you explain more how you guys do it?
We have pins outside. When we unload, we put a small amount of animals per pin so they still have room to move. We still feed and water them while we have them, which is a short time. We try to let them settle down after the truck ride. They get a little bit of an adrenaline rush. So after a day or so, they kind of settle down, and then we just take our time. We don't push real hard at this plant. Our harvest floor will do 16 a day, which in a big plant, that's nothing. But also we take the time and try to keep the animal as relaxed and as it can be through the process.
Yeah. So during the tour a couple days ago, what I found so fascinating was that the way that the animal feels, whether it's nervous, tense or not, can actually affect the taste of the meat. Can you explain that? If
the animal comes in and it's the adrenaline's running and its muscles are all tense, it'll definitely it can be a little bit chewier steak, a little tougher on the tougher side. To where if it's relaxed and not pressured, number one, it's just a humane way to handle the process. A lot of meat eaters and carnivores are a little bit confused about, well, what's the difference between prime versus choice versus maybe the conventional meat sold at Walmart? What is the difference between those labels? You can get a grading officer, and basically they'll come through, and it's the marbling that's throughout the meat, the muscle. It's the size of the muscle. And all that stuff, and you have prime, choice, good, standard, and a utility. The majority of everything that we run through here is a choice product. We'll have some prime come through, but we do not have a grader, so we can't actually stamp at prime even if it is. But we definitely want to get choice out of here. And some people don't mind the good just because for the lower fat content. It might be a little bit on the tougher side, but you're going to have a lower fat content throughout the muscle. As you work down that chain, prime, choice, and good, it usually will get cheaper also. Right, of course. Now, who is actually labeling it prime, choice, and good once it's out of here? So if we had a grader here, he would stamp it. He would give us the okay on whatever grade it would grade out at. I see. And he's stamping it based on the marbling, or is he actually tasting it? No, they're not. They're just looking. Yeah, USDA put a thing in place where you can actually take a picture of the steak and send it in and have it graded online, and then they can send them back and tell you what it is. But at the end of the day, the one thing, all the beef that go through here are number one from Wyoming, and they're all NHTC, no antibiotics, no hormones, all that. Yeah. So it's a clean beef. Everything that we sell. I think it's a little easier to stand behind it because I know everything that goes out of this building is a great product.
Now, since you did mention the antibiotics, hormones, mRNA, what a lot of carnivores are kind of getting nervous about is that, I don't know if there are these, chemicals in my meat. How does one confidently find out whether it's a clean piece of meat or not?
The biggest thing, like for us right now, is there's a IMI Global, and they'll actually go to a feedlot and certify it. And they have different levels. If you want to run a grass-fed line, they'll actually certify it grass. We're actually going to carry a grass line, and it'll be 100% grass-fed, and it's still going to have the IMI Global, so it's still going to be a clean beef. Other than that, that's really the only institute that I know that'll go through and certify to where you can be NHTC. And if you get a beef in a herd that is sick and needs medicine, you just cull it out and it'll go to a different plant. It'll go somewhere else. It's still fine. It's just not clean, and it doesn't meet the standards of IMI Global.
Right now, consumers are struggling. The processing plants are struggling. Even the ranchers are struggling. Why is the beef industry in such a difficult spot right now? Why do you think so?
I have a lot of my family are producers, so on that side they're actually doing pretty good right now. I think the biggest thing is once it leaves them and it goes to the bigger plants, the real big plants. There's a lot of middlemen in there that everybody gets their cut out of, which drives the price up. Buying from a small plant like this, where you're direct to consumer, you're going to, number one, you're going to save money. The only piece of the puzzle that really hurts on our side is the shipping. The boxing and the shipping. You can't get away from it. If we didn't have the boxing and shipping, we could actually undercut all the grocery stores with no problem, and still be doing all right. And like say you got all your brokers for the big four, for the warehouse that's buying it from the big guys, and then to the grocery store. So everybody's got to make their money on that trail. And by having small plants, even a bunch of small plants throughout America like this, even helps the local community. People can come up here and shop and still get it cheaper than they can downtown, which is huge because then we don't have to ship. But the shipping piece of it is really hard, especially being a perishable product.
Now, what are some common misconceptions or lies about the meat industry that you would like to speak some truth on?
I've never really walked through one of the really big plants, but some of the stuff that I've heard is just the way that the animals are treated all the way from start to finish. It's a whole different ball game than what we experience here. I know that a lot of it basically probably ties back into government money, we do not do that. Everything that we're earning is on our own. So we no government assistance here. So. And
also the vegan movement, they really like to twist things and say that these animals are treated a certain way, are so cruel. What I see here at this processing plant, I feel like everything is considered, every single detail. In fact, the cleanliness is just pristine. I feel like I can eat off the floor. It's so clean. Smells really good in here. So what do you have to say to that, people twisting the stories?
Yeah, so you're right. This plant is clean, and every animal's treated the same as they're coming through. Some of the people out there that it's kind of just, to me, it's just like the fake news. It's stuff that's put out there that's not true. And I live it every day, so I see, and I'm not going to treat an animal bad. You might get a really wild steer. It happens, right? But you still try to treat them the same. And at the end of the day, we try to, as humanely as possible. And really the process that we go through, there's not a whole lot of room for error. To where that animal will suffer.
The animal feeding us humans is really delivering ultimate health, right? And I'm sure you feel amazing eating meat every single day.
I've been in the natural food industry for quite some time. And when I first went into the natural food, some of the stores, I'd be working in the meat department. And of course, you would get a vegan walking by the meat case like looking at you funny. And it's like, I can always see between the color of a person's skin, pale. You can see the difference.
The amount of life.
And to each his own. If you just want to eat vegetables, that's fine, but don't push it on everybody. So
absolutely. Speaking of being new to a carnivore lifestyle, if you're going through any symptoms like lower energy than usual, headaches, muscle fatigue, or muscle cramping. This could all be signs of an electrolyte imbalance. What you can do to resolve this during the adaptation phase is just salt all of your carnivore meals a little bit more generously. And if that doesn't do the trick, then it might be worth leaning on a very high quality electrolyte supplement for the time being. This is the brand that I always recommend. It is from the brand Element, spelled out LMNT. And specifically this raw unflavored box. No stevia, no flavorings, nothing sweet in this packet. Each packet has sodium, potassium, magnesium measured out for you in the right quantities. This is what each of the packets look like, and you just rip one open, pour it in whatever you're drinking, mix it up, drink it down, and you're good to go. You all can get a free sample pack with any purchase just like this, and it does include the raw unflavored in here. When you go to the URL shown on the screen, drinklmnt.com/SBGAL. I've also linked them down below. Do you know if maybe different cuts of meat or different types of meat, like beef versus lamb versus pork and chicken, are there certain types of meat that might be more prone to needing these types of like hormones and antibiotics?
Beef are huge on the hormones just because it adds the weight and the bulkiness. And I don't know a whole lot about chicken, but I believe that that's probably one of the more sketchier, the ones you really have to be careful with.
For sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to beef, you mentioned the grass-fed part. So for someone who's maybe really wanting just clean beef, do they just have to make sure it's grass-fed, grass-finished, or does grass-fed grain-finished also make sure that it's pretty clean?
You know, all the beef have some grass in them, of course, and then they get grain towards the end to put on the weight and the fat. The grass-fed it'll be IMI global, it'll be clean and no hormones, no antibiotics.
What does that mean, the IMI global?
It's just the company that basically goes in and certifies the rancher. And there's a price per head to where when the owner of Merriweather Meats buys a beef, she pays more for it because the producer has to pay to have that certification.
A lot of carnivores, they eat meat every single day. Most of them only eat meat every single day. Do you have any tips or tricks that maybe most of us don't know about how to buy in bulk and maybe save more?
If you're a carnivore eating 100% meat, probably the best way is like if you bought a whole half of beef, but there again, you're going to get everything, like if you just like ribeyes or just like a certain cut, you kind of want to stay there. But as far as saving money, you'd probably just want to buy the whole half. And then you can also have it cut the way that you like it, rather than
you can request
pre-cut.
how you like it.
We do custom cutting to where some people might want their ribeye an inch thick, some might want them an inch and a half thick. So we can custom cut it however they want.
One would request this through a processing plant directly.
The bigger plants, no. Some of the plants that just do retail cut, kind of cut everything the same. Companies out there, they're going to offer you all 12-ounce ribeyes, to where custom plant, we can go in and if you want a 24-ounce ribeye or a porterhouse or whatever, we can actually do whatever the customer likes.
And your plant right here is a custom plant?
Yeah, we do custom. We do both.
And how would one contact you or order this?
As far as if you wanted a special cut, the number would be 970-556-5551.
Perfect. And then my final question is, what are your thoughts on everybody pushing Beyond Meat, processed meat, lab-grown meat, vegan meat to solve climate change and to save health in general?
I don't know a whole lot about it, and to be honest, I've never tried it, and I probably won't.
Yeah.
I've had a few people tell me that they've tried the Beyond Meat and all that, and I get it. It's I'm sure there's still a lot of grain in the process, right? I don't necessarily think getting away from eating beef is going to save the world. Yes. They've been around as long as we have. So
thank you so much for your time.
You bet.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you found it to be helpful and eye-opening. If you're new to this entire carnivore lifestyle, I highly recommend you check out my support group, the Steak and Butter Gang, if you need the guidance, support, and accountability. A lot of new carnivores struggle the most with just feeling alone and misunderstood when they live this lifestyle around their own family, friends, and coworkers. When you have a support group and passionate community to lean on and a whole team of coaches to help you through your hurdles, it is 10 times easier to start a carnivore lifestyle and actually stick to it. If you're interested in joining the SBG family, just go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com, or check out the clickable links down below in the description box. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. SBG out.